I was the classic rich idiot, the villain everyone loves to hate. Whatever someone slipped into my champagne was starting to hit hard. I leaned against the wall and motioned for my fiancée, Sophia, to get me a room. That's when he appeared, Leo Vance, the so-called self-made hero of this story, his face full of cold disapproval. "Sterling," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Sophia is an employee, not your personal servant. You think you can order everyone around?" I caught the flicker of annoyance on Sophia's face, though it wasn't directed at him. A cold clarity washed over me. I turned to my friend Mike Thompson, who was watching the entire drama unfold. "Mike," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I'm giving you that new development project. Your first task? Get this clown out of my face." Leo's expression darkened. "You think you can solve everything by throwing money around?" Mike just shrugged and stepped forward. "Look, Vance, this is their business. Why don't you mind your own?" The charity gala blurred around mid-crystal chandeliers, quiet chatter, and spinning lights. The drug was working fast. I braced myself against a marble column as Sophia shot me a look of pure ice. She scanned the room and leaned in and hissed under her breath, "Get it together, Carter. Stop pretending to be dizzy. Everyone's staring. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is?" My eyes fluttered open as a wave of vertigo hit me. But it wasn't from the drug, it was a sudden flood of information. A story. My story? I realized I was a character in some trashy corporate drama, the arrogant, useless trust fund villain. And Sophia, the brilliant scholarship girl my family had supported for years, was the novel's heroine. Ambitious, talented, and proud. She despised people like those born on third base, who thought they'd hit a triple dot after joining my family's company. Sterling Holdings. She met the story's hero, Leo Vance, CEO, who pretended to hate money as much as she did. A perfect match made in hypocrite heaven. They started their secret romance while living off everything my family provided, mocking me behind my back as the spoiled rich boy who thought money could buy respect. The ending was already written. They were destined to destroy Sterling Holdings, stealing our core tech and client list, driving the company into bankruptcy. My family's legacy would collapse. My parents would be devastated. And while I rotted in prison, they'd be celebrating, talking about how true worth comes from dignity, not wealth. And this right now was the spark that set it all off. The moment where I, feeling unwell at a gala, asked Sophia for help, only for the hero to step in, defend her honor, and start their love story. I forced myself to stand tall under the curious stares of the guests. Before I could speak, a righteous voice cut through the air. "What do you think you're doing, Sterling? Does having money make you that special? Sophia may have accepted your family scholarship, but she's here on her own merit. She's not your assistant. You have no right to order her around. It's arrogant and pathetic." I turned to face him, Leo Vance, CEO of some mid-tier tech startup who thought the world revolved around his moral compass. He'd been eyeing Sophia all evening. When I asked her to help me and she refused, he saw his chance. I laughed, cold and sharp. Without my family's money, Sophia would still be stuck in some dead-end town. I paid for her Ivy League MBA. I gave her a senior position right out of school. I've spent nearly $1 million on her over the years. So yeah, I think I can ask her to help me with my tie if I damn well please. Leo's brow furrowed in fake integrity. Sophia's success is her own doing. She would have made it with or without your family's charity. Using your generosity to control her is pathetic. Adversity builds character. Without your help, she'd probably be more successful than you are now. Sophia had clearly grown tired of me long ago, and now that someone was standing up for her. She looked at Leo with gratitude and something softer. "Thank you." "Leo," she said, her voice trembling. Leo, handsome and radiating quiet confidence, gave her a reassuring smile that made her blush. "Sophia, you should never have to endure unequal treatment," he said gently. "Don't worry about losing Sterling's support. With your talent, any company would be lucky to have you. My door is always open." "You talk too much," I muttered, rolling my eyes as whispers spread through the crowd. Thankfully, the drug wasn't strong enough to knock me out completely. I turned to Mike, who stood nearby. Mike, I'm feeling dizzy. Get a doctor up to my suite. And that new waterfront project we talked about, it's yours. Mike's eyes lit up. He came from money, but had never earned anything real. This was his chance. As he moved, Leo stepped in front of him. Don't enable him, Thompson. People like this need to be stopped. Mike shoved him aside without hesitation. Vance, are you crazy? Stay out of other people's business if you want to live a long life. Now move. Leo glared, his voice tight with outrage. Mike, I can't believe you've stooped this low. You're running for a PR director of the Business Alliance, remember? You'd sell out your principles for one project to help this spoiled brat? Mike sneered. Helping Carter is my choice, Vance. The project's his to give. If you want to play the hero, go ahead, nobody's stopping you. Leo's face flushed from red to white. I wouldn't touch his charity, he spat, before turning back to Sophia. Let me take you home, Sophia. You shouldn't have to be around him, Leo said. Sophia gave him a warm smile, so different from the icy glare she'd shot me moments ago, as I turned away. Mike muttered under his breath, "What a psycho," before looking back at me with a grin. Don't worry, Carter. I'll have a doctor sent up quietly. The hotel staff will take care of everything. Out. My name never made it into the gossip columns. No embarrassing headlines like local heir has drug-fueled meltdown at charity gala appeared the next morning. He was more competent than people gave him credit for. We never found out who slipped the drug into my drink. It was probably just a random glass I'd picked up. Typical, really. Just my luck as the designated villain, bad things always seem to happen for no reason. Before Mike left, I handed him the contact info for the project lead. He took the business card, nearly bouncing with excitement. He kept thanking me, calling me his savior. But just as he turned to go, his phone buzzed. His smile vanished instantly. What is it? I asked, sensing trouble. Mike hesitated, then showed me the screen. It's that self-righteous prick, Leo. He's posting on the Business Alliance's LinkedIn group, telling everyone I have no integrity and that I'm your family's lapdog. He's also warning people not to vote for me in the upcoming election, saying I'm involved in shady deals with you. I glanced at the screen. Leo's post already had traction. Comments were rolling in fast. I'm with Leo on this one. Integrity is everything in our circle. Mike Thompson's behavior is a disgrace to our reputation. Exactly. We're entrepreneurs trying to build real value, not suck up to some spoiled trust fund kid. That Sophia Reed seems incredibly talented. I wonder if she's looking to jump ship from Sterling Holdings. And, of course, Leo replied right under that last one. I admire Sophia's professionalism immensely. I'm already in talks to bring her over to my company. I hope you'll all support her when she joins. I couldn't help but laugh. Bitter, dry laugh. Were these people really offended by my behavior or just jealous that I was born rich? What's so funny? Mike asked. Nothing, I said, shaking my head. Hey, do you know how to apply for a position on the Business Alliance board? Mike blinked. Yeah. I've got the forms. Why? I smiled. Give me one. A few days later, the New York Business Alliance held its quarterly meeting. Representatives from dozens of companies filled the conference room. When Sophia saw me walk in, she did a double take. We worked in different departments and hadn't spoken since the gala. Originally, she'd promised my father she'd look out for me at Sterling Holdings, but that obligation had worn thin. Leo was right. Sterling Holdings sponsored her because of her potential. Why should she have to bow to me? Now that she was established, she probably thought the company needed her more than she needed us. Leo noticed me too. His brow furrowed. What's he doing here? He muttered. Then, seeing Sophia's lingering gaze, he added quickly, Don't worry. The Alliance is full of respectable people. They'd never let a spoiled brat like Carter Sterling join and ruin their reputation. The presentations began. Leo was one of the first to take the stage. Everyone, he began, I'm running for vice president of this alliance. As you all know, my company was built on a foundation of integrity. Unlike certain heirs who think they can just buy their way to the top, we won't tolerate unfair competition. Under my leadership, will protect the reputation and quality of every project this alliance undertakes." He threw a meaningful glare toward me and Mike. Before this, Leo hadn't stood a chance at the VP seat. But with Mike's reputation damaged by his post, Leo saw an opening and went for it. Soon after, it was Sophia's turn. She was running for Director of Public Relations, a role normally far above her level. But Leo had pulled strings, using his morally upright platform to get her nominated and rally support. Her speech was polished and persuasive, a tale of balancing a demanding job and personal growth while dealing with a difficult boss, me, only to rise above it and become a department manager. When she finished, the board nodded approvingly. Even the alliance president said, "That's an impressive young woman." Leo gave her a knowing smile. "Excellent." Then it was my turn. I stepped up, carrying not a speech, but a thick proposal binder. The board members exchanged puzzled looks. They'd seen plenty of PowerPoints and tablets, but never a full-blown business plan. Ignoring the murmurs, I cleared my throat. "Hello, everyone. I'm running for vice president. My strengths are innovation and execution. If you elect me, I can guarantee a 30% growth in alliance membership and a 50% increase in public influence within a year. This proposal outlines exactly how I'll do it." I handed copies to my assistant, who passed them around the room. Leo's face went pale. He shot up from his seat, pointing at me. "Everyone in this alliance earned their place through merit. You have no relevant experience. This is all just empty talk. You're trying to fool people." I met his gaze calmly. "Sophia's new here too. What experience does she have that I don't?" "She's hardworking and honest," Leo snapped. "She doesn't cut corners. The alliance needs people like her, not some nepotism baby who thinks he can waltz in and take over because of his last name." Sophia jumped in, her tone sharp. "Carter, do you really think these people are your clueless friends? That they'll fall for your empty promises? No one here is impressed by your talk." I just shrugged. The results will speak for themselves. 5 minutes later, the votes were in. Next to vice presidents in bold letters was my name, Carter Sterling. Leo's face twisted in disbelief. "Why? Why would you vote for him?" he demanded. A senior member raised his hand. I did. Between two newcomers, I'd rather choose the one with bold vision and the drive to see it through. Others quickly chimed in. "Mr. Sterling's plan is brilliant. It could open up huge opportunities for the alliance." I read his proposal. His analysis is sharp, and the potential is massive. Better to innovate than stagnate. We need fresh energy. Finally, the president gave his approval. My plan was too strong to ignore, and even he was won over. Leo's face turned to stone. Not only had I just taken the VP position, but thanks to my endorsement, Mike Thompson had been elected PR director. Now both Leo and Sophia were left with nothing. Leo pointed at the others in the room, his voice shaking with rage. "I thought you were all business leaders, but you're just a bunch of brown-nosing social climbers." "So he's a rich kid. So what? People like Sophia and me, people with principles, will always come out ahead. You all disappoint me. I'm done with this alliance." With that, he grabbed Sophia's hand and stormed out of the conference room. The remaining members glanced around awkwardly. "Leo seems pretty pissed. Should someone go talk to him?" one of them said hesitantly. He was always a responsible member. I smiled and spoke up. "To celebrate tonight, I'm hosting a dinner at Purse. I hope you all can make it." The mood instantly shifted. "Responsible," one of them scoffed. "Who says he's the only one who thinks he's God's gift to business? The alliance isn't going to fall apart without him." "Exactly," another agreed. "Just because he thinks dirty doesn't mean we do. Who is he to judge us?" After the meeting, I stopped by the office to grab a few files. When I headed downstairs, Arthur, my family's driver, was waiting. Seeing me alone, he asked, "Mr. Carter, where is Miss Sophia? Did you two have another argument?" Sophia came from a modest background. Her family had hit hard times when she was in college, and she almost had to drop out. My father stepped in, funding her education, and she joined our company after graduation. In the original story, I'd been hopelessly in love with her. chasing her endlessly until she reluctantly agreed to be my fiancé. We fought constantly. She'd give me the cold shoulder, and I'd have to beg for forgiveness. So Arthur's question made sense, but this time, I just scoffed. She doesn't have the right to argue with me, I said flatly. As of today, she has nothing to do with the Sterling family. Thankfully, our engagement was only verbal. I can just pretend it never happened. Arthur looked stunned just then. Sophia walked out of the building and spotted the Maybach. A faint smirk crossed her lips. Same old trick, she thought. In her mind, everything I did was just an attempt to get her attention, to force her to give in. I could say the cruelest things. She always assumed I'd come running back. She snorted and turned toward the subway station. She wouldn't get in the car. She was waiting for me to break down and call her, just so she could unleash all the anger she'd been holding in. Sophia walked confidently, expecting to hear my voice any second. But by the time she reached the subway entrance, there was only silence. She looked back, confused, only to see that the spot where the Maybach had been parked was now empty. Her face fell. She tried to reassure herself, convinced that if she just held her ground and refused to be bought, I'd come crawling back eventually. Meanwhile, the first thing I did was revoke Sophia's access from the security system. Then I took a long, hot shower, poured myself a glass of Cabernet, and settled onto the couch with a Wall Street Journal. By the time Sophia had navigated the subway, a bus, and finally an Uber, she arrived exhausted and furious. She jabbed the intercom button repeatedly, cursing under her breath. How dare Arthur leave without me? They've all spoiled Carter rotten. This time, I'm laying down the law. A cold electronic voice responded, Identity authentication failed. Please try again. Sophia froze, then tried again. And again? Multiple authentication failures? System locked. Bright floodlights suddenly lit up, pinning her in place. Who's there? A voice called out. Sophia shielded her eyes. It's me, Sophia Reed. Let me in. The new security guard didn't recognize her. His tone was polite, but firm. I'm sorry, Miss Reed. Without Mr. Sterling's authorization, we can't allow anyone onto the property. What do you mean, anyone? She snapped. I live here. The guard hesitated. Then why didn't the biometric scanner recognize you? Sophia's face darkened. She knew the passcode, but she never imagined I'd actually change it or delete her biometrics. She thought this had to be another cruel game, my way of forcing her to beg. Normally, she would have turned and left. But tonight, she was too tired, too angry. She glared at the guard and dialed my number. I was standing by the window, enjoying the city lights and swirling the wine in my glass. When the phone rang, I answered casually only to hear Sophia's furious voice. Carter, what kind of game are you playing now? Do you think changing the password will stop me? Open the gate. Stop acting like a child. I chuckled softly and hung up. Sophia stared at her phone, her face twisting with rage. She swore that when she got inside, she'd tear into me, but she waited, and the gate stayed closed. Her anger boiled over, and she called again. Carter, are you going to open this gate or not? I leaned back on the sofa, taking a slow sip of wine. Open the gate? Why would I do that? And by the way, this wine is excellent. She was practically screaming. If you don't open it, how am I supposed to get in? This is my house. I smirked. What are you doing here, Sophia? Don't tell me you're homeless. Her voice trembled with disbelief. Carter, is this because I wouldn't cater to your every whim? Is this how you treat me? Our relationship was purely contractual, I said calmly. Benefactor and beneficiary. I don't need you to cater to me. And for the record, saying this is my house is just a fact and not an insult. I was about to hang up again, but Sophia wasn't done. She snapped, Stop playing word games, Carter. It was your family that begged me to come here in the first place. I don't recall that, I said coolly. But even if it's true, consider this me begging you to leave. Then I ended the call and blocked her number. A few minutes later, my father called. Carter, are you fighting with Sophia? Why did you kick her out? Thinking about the original story where my father's company went bankrupt, I felt a twinge of sadness. He was always busy with work but had treated Sophia kindly. I couldn't believe she would betray him like that. I told him everything that had happened at the company. After listening quietly, his tone hardened. I had no idea she'd grown so arrogant. If the sponsorship agreement is over, we're done with her. Let her go her own way. My father had mentored Sophia heavily after graduation because he admired her talent and thought she was good for me. That was how she and Leo got access to our core systems, how they brought us down. But now, after hearing what happened, my father immediately scrapped any plans to support her career. Meanwhile, Sophia, still fuming, was waiting for my call, certain I'd come crawling back. In her mind, she was so talented, and Mr. Sterling valued her so highly, that I'd be forced to apologize. She waited all night. Not a single call. Not even a text. Just then, a Porsche pulled over. Leo Vance stepped out, surprise written all over his face. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" Sophia told him everything that had happened. For some reason, she felt an instant, unexplainable connection to him. Leo's expression hardened with anger. "Carter has gone too far. Who does he think he is?" "You'll show him, Sophia. You'll become so successful that he'll have no choice but to see your worth. Forget his stupid mansion. If you have nowhere to stay, you can come to my place." Oh. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Finally, someone who understood her. "Your place? I don't know if that's appropriate." "It's fine," Leo said gently. "It's just me there most of the time." He took her to his condo. It wasn't a grand mansion, but the spacious 2,000 square foot apartment had a clean, modern design. Sophia looked around, her brow creasing slightly. It was nice, but it couldn't compare to the luxurious world she had just left. Leo seemed a bit embarrassed. "It's probably not what you're used to, but it's comfortable." Sophia smiled softly. "No, it's wonderful. Much better than that house." A smile spread across Leo's face. "Don't worry, I'll never treat you like Carter did. Sophia, you're incredible, beautiful, brilliant. If you keep pushing forward, one day Carter Sterling will be the one chasing you. You'll prove to him that money isn't everything." Sophia thought to herself. He's right. Even Mr. Sterling Sr. praised my work and promoted me to manager. That means something. She was determined to make a name for herself and to make Carter see her differently. Across the living room, their eyes met. A spark flickered between them, something more than friendship. Time passed. And the quarterly meeting of the Business Alliance arrived as scheduled. Without Meetha so-called villain getting in their way, Sophia and Leo's relationship had blossomed. As members, they were both required to attend. Sophia didn't hold an official position, and Leo, despite his dramatic exit, had never formally quit the alliance. He always stayed close to her. This time, though, Sophia arrived with a colleague from her new company. The colleague spotted me across the room and nudged her. "Hey, Sophia, isn't that Carter Sterling from Sterling Holdings? I heard you know him. Can you introduce me?" Sophia tried to stay focused on the presentation. Ever since I kicked her out and she joined Leo's firm, she'd been determined to prove herself and to show me she didn't need anyone. Hearing my name made her scowl. "Why would you want to meet an arrogant jerk like Carter Sterling? You looking to get humiliated?" Her colleague rolled her eyes. "Are you serious? Sterling Holdings just landed that huge Hudson Yards contract last month. Everyone's talking about it. A guy like that has every right to be a little arrogant. Having him as a contact would be huge for us." Another coworker leaned in. "I heard he's super generous with his employees, always giving bonuses. Even if you can't be his girlfriend, knowing someone like that would be a win." It was harmless office gossip, but to Sophia, it felt like they were rubbing my success in her face. While she was still struggling to find her place in her new company, I was already closing major deals. Her hand tightened around the folder in her lap. Her eyes drifted toward me. I was wearing a crisp white shirt and a navy blue blazer. Sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a soft halo around me. I listened intently to the speaker, one hand propping up my chin, the other jotting notes in a leather-bound notebook. Watching me, Sophia caught herself thinking when he's focused. He's actually not that bad looking. She was lost in thought when Leo arrived. He had come early to surprise her, but instead found her staring at me. After the meeting, I'd gathered my things to leave when Leo suddenly blocked my path. "Sterling, don't think for a second that acting all charming is going to work. Sophia will never fall for a condescending trust fund baby like you." "Excuse me?" I asked, genuinely confused. I'd just been sitting there now. Drama had found me. The conference room wasn't empty, and a few people lingered, sensing a scene. "Isn't that Leo Vance, the startup guy?" someone whispered. "Leo, what's going on?" Realizing he had an audience, Leo's confidence grew. "I'm sure you all know Carter Sterling thinks he's better than everyone because of his family's money. Back at Sterling Holdings, he tormented Sophia just to get her attention. A few months ago, he threw her out of his house in the middle of the night, and now he's trying to win her back with this act. Too bad for him. Sophia is one of my top people now." I stared at him, stunned. This guy was delusional. "First of all," I said calmly, "that was a private residence owned by my family. Sophia was a guest. When her contract ended, I asked her to leave. That's not mistreatment, it's business. Second, this is a required alliance meeting. Of course I'm here as Sterling Holdings representative." "That's impossible," Leo snapped. "I've been to the last 2 meetings with Sophia and I never saw you." "That's because I was busy landing several major accounts for my company," I replied. "Surely you've heard." Leo froze. He hadn't. He'd been so focused on Sophia that he'd stopped paying attention to the industry just then. Sophia walked over, her face dark with anger. Leo grabbed her arm immediately. "Sophia, is he bothering you again?" She shot him a glare cold enough to stop his words. His voice hadn't been quiet. Everyone nearby had heard. Now they all knew she'd once been kicked out of someone's house. She clenched her jaw and said quietly, "We'll talk back at the office." Then she turned and walked away. Leo glared at me one last time before rushing after her. As she left, Sophia glanced back at me. She thought of her co-workers' admiring whispers about my success. Then looked at the man beside her, angry, insecure, small. A strange emotion stirred inside her. For the first time, she wondered if leaving Sterling Holdings had been the right choice. After that day, I buried myself in work. I knew I couldn't rely on anyone else. I had to become stronger. Even if I couldn't expand the company like my father once did, I could at least make it stable. My father doubted that his spoiled son could handle real pressure, so he gave me a challenge. If I could lead our division to the top ranking in the Alliance's annual review, he'd officially name me as his successor. Meanwhile, Sophia, who had once been fiercely focused on her career, was growing distracted. One morning, after finishing my workout at the office gym, I saw a message pop up on WhatsApp. "Can we talk?" The name on the screen made me pause. It was Sophia. I scrolled through our old chat history and couldn't help but cringe. I used to be relentless, dozens of messages from me for every single one from her. Her replies were always short, cold, detached. With a bitter scoff, I blocked her number. 6 months passed quickly. At the next Alliance conference, Sterling Holdings ranked #1 in overall performance. As the company's representative, I was invited to give the keynote speech. Dressed in a tailored suit, I stood under the spotlight, calm, confident, completely in control. In the audience, Sophia watched me, her eyes fixed on the man she once dismissed. After the event, I was back in my office sorting through my notes when the door opened without a knock. Sophia stood there, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "What do you want?" I asked, frowning. "I want to talk to you, Carter." "Why did you block me?" I laughed under my breath. "You really have to ask?" My intention had been to cut her off completely. But Sophia, misreading my reaction, smiled a confident, knowing smile. "I get it now, Carter. This is one of your games, isn't it? Push and pull. You block me to get my attention. Are you serious?" I muttered. Sophia walked further into my office and held up her phone. She hadn't deleted our chat. The one-sided thread was still there. "You used to chase me relentlessly and I ignored you," she said. "Then you got mad and blocked me just to make me chase you." I almost laughed out loud. "Sophia, are you mentally okay?" There you go again, getting defensive, she shot back. I figured you out, Carter. Her gaze swept over me from head to toe. You've changed these past few months. I have to admit, your little strategy worked. I glanced at my watch impatiently. Can you please speak English? Sophia smirked. It's like they say online, to attract a high-value person, you have to become one yourself. I told you once that you had no business sense. Is that why you've been working so hard? To impress me? To finally get my attention? You really have a persecution complex, I said flatly. I'm doing this for myself. It has nothing to do with you. You honestly think the world revolves around you? I leaned back in my chair. And with the deals I've closed lately, do you seriously think I'm trying to be worthy of you? I'm so far out of your league, it's not even funny. Sophia's brow furrowed. My GPA in college was higher than yours. Doesn't that prove I'm smarter? Your own father saw my potential and wanted to groom me as a leader in the company. He recognized my talent. Let's face it, Carter, without your family's money, someone like me will always land on her feet. I gave her a thin, patronizing smile. Well then, why don't you go land on your feet? And we'll talk after. As she stood there fuming, I quietly forwarded the audio recording of our conversation to Mike. Send this to Leo Vance, I texted. Then I walked around her like she was furniture and left the office. Not long after, as I stepped out of the building, Leo stormed up to me, face red with anger. Carter, what the hell was that recording you sent me? Are you trying to drive a wedge between me and Sophia? I smirked. A wedge? She came to my office to talk about whether I'm worthy of her. Don't you think you should be asking your girlfriend about that? I trust Sophia, Leo snapped. I don't trust you. I've heard how obsessed you used to be with her, but she was never interested in a spoiled trust fund kid like you. Give it up. These pathetic tricks won't break us. We both have principles we'll never bow to you. He deleted the recording in front of me and stormed off. I chuckled, shaking my head. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Sophia standing at the end of the street. She hadn't stepped in while Leo confronted me. She had started to walk over, but when she saw me calm and composed on Leo, sputtering with anger, her steps faltered. After a long pause, she turned and silently walked back to her office. Later that evening, Leo brought her a sad-looking desk salad for dinner. The company's expenses are really high this month, he was saying. Cash flow's tight. We might have to cut back. Maybe we should take on smaller projects just to keep things running. Sophia nodded absently. Okay. The next day, Leo was practically glowing. I landed a small project, he told her excitedly. The profit margin's thin, but it'll fix our cash problem for now. When Sophia joined him for the client meeting, the building looked strangely familiar. It was a place she used to visit often back when she worked at Sterling Holdings. When I walked out of the conference room and saw them standing there. Can't these two just disappear? The project, as it turned out, was being handled by my uncle. He'd had an emergency and asked me to cover the initial meeting. I led them into the conference room. As Sophia stepped inside, she looked around. Her expression complicated, nostalgic, maybe even regretful. After the meeting, I stood and said coolly, "Your company will no longer be involved in this project." Leo jumped up. What? On what grounds, Sterling? This isn't your personal project. You have no right to kick us off. I'll explain the situation to my uncle and recommend another partner, I replied calmly. Your company's business philosophy doesn't align with ours. A partnership would be difficult. And frankly, I don't want your lack of professionalism jeopardizing the timeline. Leo pointed a finger at me. You're abusing your power. We worked hard to get this deal, and you're ending it with one word? You're a tyrant. No wonder Sophia can't stand you. My expression hardened. When it comes to hard work, I doubt you can even compare. And I have every right to refuse to work with you. Aren't you two always talking about principles? Then why are you so desperate for this tiny little contract? My words hit hard. Leo and Sophia looked humiliated. Sophia glared at me, disappointment flashing in her eyes. Carter, I thought you'd changed, but you're still the same petty child. Don't worry, I'll never have anything to do with you again. She couldn't believe she had ever felt a glimmer of hope for me. I crossed my arms, smirking coldly. Good, I don't want anything to do with either of you ever again. But before you go, let me say this. I looked directly at her. Sophia, stop acting like Sterling Holdings owes you something. You pretend your dignity matters more than anything. But the truth is, you're terrified of people whispering that you slept your way to the top. If I hadn't been so obsessed with you, would you have stayed around, clinging to my family's name for as long as you did? Sophia's face went pale. Leo stepped forward, furious, but I turned my glare on him. And you, Mr. High Morals, business over everything, you're a joke. You only saw Sophia's talent and connections as tools to climb higher. You two were made for each other, a pair of schemers. I hope you're both very happy. I buzzed my assistant and told her to show them out. Before leaving the building, Sophia gave me one last intense look. Don't be so smug, Carter. You think I care about your money? I graduated with honors. My work speaks for itself. One day I'll build my own company, and when that happens, you'll regret this. Don't come begging for me to come back. She left dramatically. A month later, at another project bidding conference, their company didn't even make the shortlist. At the top, in bold letters, was Sterling Holdings. Sophia looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Impossible. How could Carter be doing better than me? I have more experience and a better network. Once might have been luck, but how could I keep winning? All her life, she'd been top of her class, the star performer. She always believed she was a prodigy, that every project she wanted would be hers. But now, something had changed. Leo saw the results too, and his face darkened. What happened, Sophia? This project was our lifeline. Their company's expenses had drained all their cash. Without that project, bankruptcy loomed. Sophia refused to accept it. Well, say something, Sophia. Without this contract, how are we going to make it through the next quarter? The reality finally hit her. Losing to me had already crushed her spirit. She didn't even have the strength to think. How should I know? She snapped. You're the one running the company, aren't you? Figure it out. That was the last straw. Leo finally broke. How can you say something so heartless? Sophia, aren't we in this together? The salary, the perks, you had the best because of me. You call yourself a top talent, but you can't even land one project. Do you expect me to carry this company on my own? Sophia stared at him, shocked. What do you mean I can't land a project? Why are you being so nasty? You never used to be like this, Leo. When did you become obsessed with money? I'm not obsessed, he said. But a company has to survive. She looked at him tired, worn down, and thought of me, confident and successful, at the helm of Sterling Holdings. You've become so pathetic, she said coldly. I don't know what I ever saw in you. We're done. She pushed past him and left without looking back. Later, she cornered me in Sterling Holdings' lobby. I frowned. Shouldn't you be at work? What are you doing here? Her eyes brightened. You know about my company's situation. You're keeping tabs on me. That means you still care. You were just hurt that I was with Leo, so you crushed us in revenge. That's it, isn't it? You've always been possessive. You're insane. I don't have time for this. Get out. Okay. Don't be angry. I broke up with Leo. What does your breakup have to do with me? She looked at me with a strange mix of pride and desperation. I admit you were right about some things. You won. You wanted to see me crawl back, well, here I am. Let's go home tonight. I'll apologize. If you can control your temper, we can start over. How does that sound? I wanted to yell, but I held back. Instead, I pulled out my phone. If you don't leave now, I'm calling security. Seeing me dial, she frowned. Carter, enough games. I'm extending an olive branch. What more do you want? Do you really want us to be strangers forever? Don't forget your father values my skills. Sterling Holdings will need me again. You'll rely on me one day. Need you? Are you delusional? I sneered. Why would Sterling Holdings need someone who can't even land a simple contract? Her face stiffened. That was just a temporary setback. Whatever it was, it proves one thing. I cut her off. You were talented once, I'll admit that. But talent isn't rare. The only reason you got as far as you did was because my family built the ladder for you, and you were too ungrateful to appreciate it. Now take your pride and get out of my life." She stood there in silence as I walked away. In the months that followed, I focused entirely on expanding Sterling Holdings' international projects. Seeing my results, my father invested in my growth and planned to send me abroad to manage major ventures. The day I got my visa, shocking news spread through the city's elite circles. I hadn't been paying attention to them, but Mike texted me, "You won't believe this. Leo's company went bankrupt after Sophia dumped him. He was deep in debt and went to her for money. She called him a pathetic loser. He stabbed her multiple times. She died at the hospital. Leo's been arrested. His life's over," Mike added. "Seriously, why do people mess with you? You're literally the heir to a fortune. Who picks a fight with money?" Reading it, I felt a strange sense of irony. They had always seen themselves as the heroes of their own success story idealists who valued passion over wealth. But once the villain me stopped playing along, their story collapsed into tragedy in the real world. Without the safety net of fantasy, their perfect ending was never possible.